Today's the last day of notes on viruses for right now, anyway. This is your day 3 set of notes. You were given homework last night to take home and do, to complete at the end of class and then take home and finish tonight. However, we don't need to grade this because you've already gotten the key and copied all of the answers. That's right, my friends. Mrs. Burton knows everything. So this has been collected, but it will not be put in the grade book. So how can we fight against these viruses? We already talked about one way, and that's once the virus is already in your body. And we'll come back to that again. However, there's several different ways we can do that. And remember, just taking you back to that lesson yesterday, that you have the surface markers and the receptor sites, and those act like a lock and key that when they fit together, the right surface marker hits the right receptor site that allows the virus into that cell. And remember, if they don't match up, then that virus is rejected by that cell. But we also have other lines of defense, and we even have other lines of defense prior to that. The first one is the integumentary system. The integumentary, and even actually before the integumentary system, we can talk about healthy habits, being clean, but we're going to talk about that, I think, at the end of this video. But the integumentary system is your first line of defense. It's your skin and hair and different ways that your outside of your body is made. So when a virus is, let's say, floating in the air, those are airborne or air supported viruses. Those are viruses that can live in just the air that we breathe. These viruses can be brought in through the nasal passages. And so you have this hair on the nose that will trap and stop a lot of the viruses. Obviously, they don't stop them all, because when you breathe in hard, some of them are going to get through, and all it takes is just a couple, and then you have that whole system that starts. However, that's a first line of defense. You have your skin that covers your body as well, except for when it gets cut. And then if you have an opening in the skin, you have a spot for germs, being viruses or bacteria, to get inside your body as well. Your eyes have eyelashes and eyebrows because your eyes have ducts that can allow viruses and bacteria in. You think about pink eye. When you get a virus or a bacteria and you rub it into your eyes, it can infect those ducts that are right there, and then your eye gets goopy and all of that kind of stuff. So your first line of defense is your integumentary system. Once the viruses or bacteria get past that, then we have a whole nother system. Go ahead and pause the video right here and write this stuff down in your notes. All right, next you have your immune system. This happens after that virus has tried to lock and key on the cell for the first time and has started manufacturing more viruses or replicating. Or it happens if you've already had that exact virus before and your immune system already knows it. So it happens several different ways. Your immune system is made up of a whole network of organs and cells and tissues that work together to protect you against this stuff. You have your lymph nodes, your tonsils, your thymus, your spleen, bone marrow, a whole bunch of things. But basically what this immune system is going to do is it's going to be always searching and on the lookout for invaders. And we talked the other day pretty thoroughly about what happens when your immune system learns what an invader looks like, and then from that point forward will protect you from that invader if it ever comes back. And then if it doesn't know that invader, it has to learn that invader so that it will protect you the next time. The immune system recognizes the germ as being foreign. So it's like, hey, you're a bad guy. You don't belong here. Then it responds by making these special proteins called antibodies that help destroy that germ. Now, most of the time, your immune system can't act fast enough to stop the germ from making you sick, but by destroying the germ, it can usually help you get well again. So you may get sick for a while. You might, and don't sit and, be like, oh man, my immune system stinks. No, it's got to learn, first of all. And then after that, it will be a little bit faster acting. But before it learns, it takes time to do that, and then it starts destroying. And we saw how fast germs replicate. So it's literally like a competition of time. Like, how fast is this virus going to replicate before the immune system gets enough fighters going? And so, yeah, you're going to have a couple of days where you're going to be sick. In the future, your immune system is going to remember the germ that made you sick and how it destroyed it. And that way, if you're exposed to the exact same disease or germ in the future, then your immune system can quickly destroy it before it has a chance to make you sick. And that's called immunity. That's called acquired immunity. So if you would pause the video right now and write down how your immune system works by recognizing, responding, and remembering. So write the things down in yellow, and then add that this protection is called acquired immunity. Now, there's another way to get immunity without you having to go through getting sick first, without you having to acquire it, and that's through a vaccine. Vaccines give you immunity to the disease without you getting sick first. They're made of using dead or weakened versions of the disease. It's a lot safer to get a vaccine than to get the disease that it prevents. So they take a dead strain or a weakened strain of the virus, they inject it to your body. Your body learns from this weakened state virus, and the virus doesn't have a chance to get aggressive because it's weak or it's dead. And so your body practices and trains on that. Sometimes if they give you a weakened version of it, you can get a little bit sick. Like if you get the flu vaccine, people tend to feel kind of icky the next day. When I say icky, they feel kind of tired and lethargic, and sometimes they get a little bit of the symptoms, like maybe they get a light headache or sniffles, and some people can actually get more than that, but it's better than them getting the full-on flu, and that vaccine is training their body how to respond. So go ahead and pause the video right now and write down the third line of defense we have, and that is vaccines, which give you immunity as well. When you get your vaccine, your immune system is going to respond to that vaccine like the same way it would if you had the actual virus. Like it's going to, freak out and go on high alert and start trying to learn it. It's going to recognize the germ, then it's going to respond, and then it's going to remember. So it's exactly the same way. It's just like I said in the previous slide, you're getting it in a weakened state so that your body doesn't actually succumb to the sickness or the full strength sickness. So go ahead and write down that when you get a vaccine, your immune system responds the exact same way, recognizing, responding, and remembering. So this just shows you a little picture of the vaccine, and vaccines. You look at it and you have this existing pathogen. So if you look at the very first one, the purple one, it's the measles pathogen. Okay, that's a little measles. And so the vaccine helps your body develop the antibodies that fit lock and key with that virus. And you can see they even have the exact same looking surface marker as a cell would. Same thing for the chickenpox and the flu and whatever pathogen. However, when you get that new pathogen, there's no antibody, and so that's when you get sick and your body has to build up a new resistance so that it can develop the antigen for that. There are also antiviral drugs. This is number 4. The antiviral drugs do not destroy their target pathogen. Instead, they inhibit it. They stop it from developing. The drugs keep the virus from escaping from one cell to infect the next cell. So if one cell is already infected, it can inhibit the replication process. So go ahead and pause the video and write that down. All right, so why is all of this important? Okay, remember, I'm not ever going to waste your time with life science. This is all stuff I think is pertinent to not saying, oh, I'm going to make you all into doctors, but so you can understand the world around you so that you know what's going on in your body. Viruses are harmful, and they cause disease, and so we call this pathogenic. And they are disease-producing agents, which are pathogens. So pathogens cause disease, so they are pathogenic. You have all kinds of human diseases that we continually fight that are super common, like warts and the common cold and influenza and smallpox and Ebola and herpes, and then there's AIDS and chickenpox and rabies. And so this is just showing you a couple of those. Remember, I told you some of these will stay in your body for your entire life. There's nothing you can do to get rid of them. You can't get a vaccine. You can't, your body will never develop an immunity to where you will, what they call clear the virus. Clear means your body is completely free of that one. It will always hide, like warts, like herpes, like AIDS. You can never clear those viruses. And so now we even know that you can't really clear chickenpox, although you never get actual chickenpox again. It's my understanding that that then becomes shingles in adults. We'd have to do a little more reading on that one. So viruses can be prevented with vaccines, but they cannot be treated with antibiotics. Guys, that is so important. In just a minute, I'm going to have you pause this and have you write all this stuff down. And I want you to underline 4 times and star the fact that you cannot treat a virus with antibiotics. That's like everybody says, oh, I'm sick, I need to go get an antibiotic. Antibiotic, if you look at the word and you break it down, anti and bio. Anti means not, bio means life. So antibiotics are there to kill life. Are viruses alive? No, they're not. And so you cannot do, antibiotics don't even touch viruses. They do nothing for them. Antibiotics only treat bacteria. And we're going to talk, when we get into bacteria, we're going to talk about exactly how they do that. Now, there are some beneficial parts to viruses, and what they're doing is they're using genetic engineering and taking relatively harmless or mostly harmless viruses that carry good genes into cells. And so they're trying to genetically engineer some cells by introducing a virus. And I guess, as we talked about previously, where the DNA or the RNA then encodes itself into the cell's DNA. I don't know much about genetic engineering, and you're going to have a huge project coming up. And if that's something that really interests you, I would highly recommend you do something on including that. And I would love to learn more about that. So you could be my teacher. All right, looking at those notes, you probably should have already added some other things to it, but we need to add in on top of that, why is this important? Why are we having to know this? It's because the viruses are harmful. They cause disease. They're pathogenic, which means they cause disease. So they are pathogens. They're disease-producing agents. Viruses can be prevented with vaccines, but not treated with antibiotics. Antibiotics only treat bacteria. And I hope that you added all those other things prior to this that I asked you to stop and write down, such as our 4 defenses against viruses. Pause the video and add this information. All right, here's just a few of those viruses I told you I was going to show you. Most of them are of the roundish persuasion. Remember, I told you that illustration of the virus that you copied down and labeled was just a general virus. But if you look at this picture, you can see that they can be a little bit more elongated, a little more hexagonally round, or whatever. But the thing that changes the most are those surface markers, or I'm sorry, not surface, yeah, surface markers, because they only infect certain cells, and those cells have to have the matching receptor sites. All right, so let's just recap, and I want you to write this down at the end of your notes again. There are 3 types of viruses. There's the lysogenic one. It's the virus that embeds its DNA into the DNA of a host cell. You have the bacteriophage, which is a virus that infects bacteria. And you have the retrovirus, which is the virus that contains RNA and it hides from your immune system. So go ahead and write all of these things down. All right, and really quickly, basically for your homework, but just because it's kind of cool, what does the word virus mean? Well, in English, virus comes from the Latin virus, which means slime or poison. So write that down in your notes as well. So just recapping before you get your homework, how many characteristics of life do viruses actually possess? Remember, in order to be alive, they have to have all 7. They only have 1, really. They have genetic material. That's it. They're not made of cells. They have DNA or RNA, but they don't have any of the others. So, are viruses living? No, they are not. You need to get your homework from the teacher. If you have the opportunity, I would love for you to look at this link and watch this on YouTube before you do your homework.